All right. So here we go. Let's just start on our backs, stretching everything out long. You could press through both heels, have your legs in Tadasana, or you might do the star position and have your body in a big X, like a big X position. So you could do that. And just begin moving around a bit here and there. Just letting a couple people in here, okay? Just start to feel into the depth of your body. So coming out of the conceptual mind a bit and more into the matter of your body. And then when you felt like you've got a little bit of your own movement going, let's take the soles of the feet to the floor, knees bent, and move the knees softly back and forth. So today's class, we're going to explore balance a bit. And we'll look at balance in a lot of different shapes. So actually on our knees, standing on our feet, maybe sitting even. And balance, of course, is really about stability. So we'll start with some core work. So draw your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze, Apanasana. And then we'll take the hands right to the top of the thighs. Press your thighs away and press back into your hands. That's your inhale. And then on your exhale, draw your knees in and upstroke your navel. So inhale, press the knees away, and exhale, draw your knees in. And just begin to feel a slight engagement in rectus abdominis, the front of the core. Then we'll stack your knees over your hips and take a block between the knees, squeezing the block gently and pressing your feet into an imaginary wall. On your inhale, you can soften and let everything sort of relax in the belly area. And then on your exhale, squeeze the block and draw your low back down towards the floor, upstroke your navel. So kind of pulling everything right to left into midline and actually pulling sort of towards the center, towards your navel, into the middle of your body. And then interlace your hands behind your head. Inhale, and on the exhale, squeeze your block and bring your knees in towards your elbows. Inhale. Bring the elbows back down to the floor. Exhale, round, squeeze. And inhale, open up. And continue that pattern. If you didn't have a block, it would be fine. You're just going to bring the knees into the chest. But you have that block, actively squeezing the block as that brings the legs on board as well. And then we can take the soles of the feet to the floor, take the block out, take the block right underneath your sacrum, just to counter that a bit. Stretch one leg long. You can leave the opposite leg bent, or you can take both legs long. That doesn't impact your back too much. So one at a time, or both legs, just stretching the deep psoas, iliopsoas complex, allowing some space in your belly. Great, then we'll press into the feet, lift the block. Bring the block now to your right thigh and bring your right elbow to your thigh, up to your block. So the block is pinned between your right thigh and your elbow. Take your opposite leg long, press your elbow into the block and press your knee back into the block and reach the opposite leg long. And just hold for 2 more breaths. And release. Take your block to the left thigh, top of the thigh, elbow to the other end of the block. So you're pressing your elbow into the block and the thigh against the block. And then reach your right leg long. Squeeze the block between elbow and thigh. Reach the right leg long. 2 more breaths. Release. Now take the block back to the right thigh. You can rest your left leg on the floor for a sec. Take the block to your right thigh, bring your left elbow to the block. So squeeze the block between your left elbow, right thigh, lift your left leg. So you should feel the obliques on the left side working. Release. You can take the right leg to the floor, bend the left leg. Take your right elbow to your left, to the block, right elbow. So block is pinned between left thigh and right elbow. Lift your right leg, squeeze. And release. Take the soles of your feet to the floor again. Slip your block underneath your sacrum. One leg at a time, or both legs, just relaxing or lengthening the muscles in the front of the abdomen, lengthening in the psoas. And then feet back to the floor, slip the block out, and let's come to one side. So you come to one side with the knees bent and your forearm parallel to the short edge of your mat. And just allow your side body to reach down towards the floor. And then on your exhale, actively press yourself up so you feel the sideways closest to the floor working. So allow yourself to sag down towards the floor and then press into your forearm and pull sideways closest to the floor up. Do that a couple of times. And then this last time, hold yourself there, lift your hips off the floor. So you're really using the obliques here to hold yourself up. You could reach your top arm up. And I've got my legs bent. I'm not quite 90 degrees out from my hips. I'm somewhere in between straight and 90 degrees. But obviously, if you straighten your legs, it's going to be a little more difficult. So choose where you'd like to be with that. And then rest yourself back down and turn to the other side. And just begin with your knees bent. Allow your sideways to reach down towards the floor. Then press firmly into your forearm and lift. Do that a couple of times. And then lift your hips. Stack the top arm if you'd like. And release. Then come on to your belly. And just rest for a minute on your hands stacked. Just rest there. Stretch the legs long. And we'll just take a few easy back bends here. So pressing your forearms into the floor, lift your head and shoulders, and gaze right off the front end of your mat. And then exhale to lower back down. As you lift, draw your pubic bone towards your navel. So a little anterior tilt of the pelvis, and then lower back down. As you tilt your pelvis, pubic bone towards navel, draw your tailbone down between your heels. So working a little bit with the back of the cylinder of our core. Great. A couple more times, and then stack your elbows underneath your shoulders and come into Sphinx. Press the pubic bone into the floor, draw the tailbone down, lengthen your tailbone. Great. And then from here, on your next inhale, turn your toes under and press up into forearm plank. And take about 3 breaths here in forearm plank. And then slowly lower yourself back down. Come all the way to the floor, arms beside your body. Take one cheek or temple to the mat and softly move your hips back and forth. And then turning in the other direction. Softly let the hips move back and forth. Coming back to center, place your hands beside your lower ribs, press yourself up, and come to table. And just take a few rounds of cat-cow here. Coming to neutral spine, reach your left leg long, turn your toes under, and just pulse through your calf muscles. And then take the top of your foot to the floor and lift from the musculature in your back. So lift your left leg up. So balancing here on 3 body parts. Draw everything in towards your core. So side waist in, hip pointers towards one another, and navel up and in. And then take your right arm. So balancing on left hand, right knee. And then you can work this into a vinyasa. So on the exhale, bringing your knee and your elbow together. Inhale, reaching everything long again. And exhale, bringing knee and elbow together. Let's take about 6 of those. The next time you have your arm and leg extended, take your right hand back to the floor, bring your left leg out to the side. Now draw your hips back, walk your hands up towards your legs, and come to resting on your right knee, left foot. Now, if your block is handy, hopefully you might want your block here. Let's just open up into gate. So reaching the right hand down towards the floor of your block, and side waist, left side waist opens up. I'll turn to face you. Couple breaths here. And then inhale, come back up. And now, with your left leg extended, right knee bent, bring your right hand to the floor and take your left leg up. So you're sort of in an Ardha Chandrasana on your knees. And then stack the arms. Pull everything in towards the middle. You could bend through the top leg and take the top foot with the top hand. Maybe pick those fingertips up off the floor and try that balance. Whoa, yeah. And then release your left leg back. Bring both knees together. You'll be back in table. And take a few rounds of cat-cow. And then you reach the right foot, right leg long, turn your right toes under, pulsing through your calf muscles. Then the top of your foot to the floor and lift using the strength of your back, your glute. So now reach the left arm long. And then begin that vinyasa. So knee to elbow. I'm really thinking about the knee to elbow. Really remind us to pull in towards the middle, but keep pulling your hip pointers towards one another as well. So really pulling from the sides into midline. Then you'll take your left hand back to the floor, take your right leg out to the side, reach your hips back towards your heels, and then walk your hands towards your body, come up to a standing position on the left knee, right foot. Again, block to the left side or just fingers towards the floor, open up into gate. Great, then from here we'll take your left hand down by your left knee and reach the right leg up. So it's an Ardha Chandrasana shape on the knees. And stacking arms here. Press through the heel of your right foot. And then you could bend the top leg and take that foot with the top hand. And then release. Bring your foot back to the floor, both knees together, back to table, a couple of rounds of cat-cow. And then we'll just come to standing on our knees. And so you'll be standing on your knees. You have your block handy. So balancing on our knees, bring the hip pointers towards one another, navel up and in, and then take your weight into your left knee and pick your right foot up and bring your foot forward. So you're in a 90-90 position. Inhale to reach the arms up. And exhale, take a side bend towards the bent leg. Inhale back to center. Release your hands, balance on your left knee, pick your right knee up and set it beside your left knee. Now weight in the right knee, pick your left foot up and bring it forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, side bend towards the bent leg. Inhale back to center. Balance here, pick up the front foot and set your knees back together. Let's just try that one more time. So balancing on the knees, take the weight in your left knee, pick up your right foot. Can you hover, 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 set it down. Now take your hands to the front of your thigh and come into a lunge. Press back up, reach the right leg long, pointing your toes, and balance in this position. So we do this sometimes standing too, where you have the feet kind of almost on a train track. So my front leg is straight and I'm resting on my back knee. Then pick up the front foot, pull into the core, and bring both knees together. Good. Put your weight into your opposite knee, pick up your front foot, and set it in the 90-90. Hands to the front thigh, come into a lunge. Press back up to the 90-90, reach your left leg long. So left leg is extended and you're balancing on your right knee. Then bend through that knee slightly, pick up the foot, and bring your knees back to center. Good. Now from here, come back to the table position, turn your toes under, press your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Find your stability here. Draw your triceps down towards the floor, navel up and in, hip pointers towards one another. Squeeze your hips in towards your midline. Great, so try some balancing here in downward dog. So inhale the right leg up, three-legged dog. Bend through your right knee and stack your right hip over your left hip. Press firmly into the left hand. See if you can really find this really stable tripod here. Then square your hips up again. Bring your right knee towards your chest and then straighten your right leg any amount over to the left. Bend through your right knee again. Stack your right hip over your left hip. Press firmly into your left hand. And then release your right foot back to the floor. Come forward into plank. Press your upper back towards the ceiling. Press through your heels. Draw your hip pointers towards one another. Press back, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg. Bend through your left knee. Stack your left hip over your right hip. Press firmly into the right hand. So the tendency is to collapse on that side. Press firmly into the right hand and feel really stable 2 points with the two hands. And then as you come back towards squaring your hips, bring your left knee in towards your chest or nose, and then straighten your left leg over to the right, any amount. sweep the knee back towards the chest, open back up, stacking your left hip over your right hip. Release your left foot to the floor, downward facing dog, and then come forward once again, high plank. Press back, downward dog. Walk your feet up towards your hands. Halfway lift, block or no block, hands to shins. And then bend through your knees, bring your hands off the block forward into a version of Utkatasana. So arms are straight, not up by your ears. Good. Take your weight into your right foot, lift your left foot. Set your left foot back down, stability, find your stability again. Take your weight into your left foot, lift your right foot. Set your right foot back down, stand to Tadasana. So even in Tadasana, let's find our balance. So you could come forward on your toes, towards your toes, come backward on your heels, move side to side, and just find that perfect balance right in between. Okay, so a few guidelines here. Take your earlobes back in space. So attempting to line up the back of your head with your sacrum. So almost like you're making a double chin. Earlobes back in space. Press firmly into the floor with your feet. Relax your shoulders down your back. Great. From here, inhale your arms up and slightly bend through the knees. Take your weight into your right foot. Pick your left foot up. Hover here for a second. Then draw your hips back and step your left foot back, crescent lunge. Draw your hip pointers towards one another, low ribs in. Back hamstring lifted. Now tilt forward and take your left hand to the outside of your right leg, right hand to your hip. So you're in a bit of a twist here. Revolved crescent. Inhale to sweep your hands back up. Then lean forward again, putting your weight in your right foot. Sweep your left leg up. Draw everything towards midline, like squeeze your thighs together. Bring your right hand to the outside of your left leg and your left hand to your hip, twisting in the opposite direction. Release left foot to the floor. Come back to Tadasana. Pull your earlobes back. Line the back of your head up with the back of your sacrum. Inhale, sweep the arms up as you bend slightly through the legs. Take your weight into your left foot, lift your right foot up, hover slightly, and then drive your hips back, set your right foot back, crescent lunge. Lift the back hamstring towards the ceiling. Draw low ribs in. It's really going to help you get solid in the middle. Navel upstrokes. Then lean slightly forward and bring your right hand to the outside of your left thigh and your left hand towards your outer left hip. Come into a twist. Keep the engagement strong by drawing the inner thighs towards one another. Inhale to sweep the arms back up. And then as you lean slightly forward again, draw your right foot up, come to standing. Right leg is lifted, then left hand to the outside of the right leg, right hand to your hip. And then come back to center, arms up, foot down, and rest in Tadasana. Hand palms forward, tailbone is neutral or pelvis is neutral, and line up your back of your head with the back of your sacrum by drawing your earlobes back. Press your feet firmly into the floor. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Take a slight bend in your knees. Take your weight into your right foot. Lift your left foot. Hover. Draw your hips back, 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 and step your foot back. A little bit further maybe this time. Crescent lunge, but a little bigger stance. Draw low ribs in. Lift back hamstring towards the floor. Towards the ceiling. Good, now leaning forward, get your weight forward and start to let your back leg lift into warrior three. On your inhale, come back to center, let the left knee lift. And then take your left ankle over your right knee and come into a fold. Now, right here, you could just fold. You can bring your hands to prayer and rest your elbows, one in your sole of your left foot, one on your left knee. Or you could just bring your hands to your hips, or you could fold and use the block to assist you here. I've got a beautiful plant in my way. So feel a lengthening in the outside of the left hip. Great, then press yourself back up, leaving the left ankle on the right knee. So coming into a version of Vrksasana. So a tree pose. So you've got your left ankle just right at the right knee. The distal end of your thigh. Good, release. Both feet to the floor, Tadasana. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, take a fold. Hands to the floor, step back, downward dog. Take a vinyasa if that would be calling you. And we'll meet in downward dog. So you could stay right here in downward dog, or you could take a full vinyasa. Sun salutation of some sort. We'll meet in downward dog before we take the second side. Walk your feet up to your hands, halfway lift, and then drop your hips down, press your arms forward, come into Utkatasana. Now you can try lifting your arms beside your biceps beside your ears. Upstroke your navel, pull everything in towards center and press yourself up. Release your hands to your sides, Tadasana. Take your time if you might feel a little dizzy here. And then set the hips back down, arms forward. Take the weight back into the left foot now. Lift the right foot and step way back into a crescent lunge. Lifting the back thigh, keeping the low ribs tucked in, navel upstroking in, up and in, and then reaching the arms forward and bringing the back leg up any amount into a warrior three. Squeeze the legs together. Now inhale as you reach the right leg up. You're going to cross the right ankle over the left thigh. You're going to fold here or sit down and bring your elbows into the right knee and the right sole of your foot. You might even take a fold here slightly. Use your block if you want to. And then inhale yourself up, leave your foot where it is. So the foot is, you're balancing here. Squeeze everything in. Bring hands to heart center. Version of Vrksasana, tree pose. Release your right foot to the floor. Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold through center. Hands to the floor, step or jump back. Downward facing dog. Inhale to come forward into the high plank. Pressing your upper back towards the ceiling. Drawing side waist in, hip pointers in towards one another. And then lift one leg, balancing three-legged or three appendages plank. Take that foot down, lift the other leg. Keep squeezing everything in. That foot down, back to downward facing dog. Let's come into a really short downward dog stance. Maybe you can get your heels to the floor here. Bend deeply through your left leg and take your right hand to the outside of your left leg and then straighten that leg coming into a twist. Release right hand back to the floor. Bend deeply through the right leg. Take your left hand to the outside of your right lower leg and then straighten the leg, twisting over to the right. Release your left hand to the floor. Continue to walk your feet up towards your hands. Come into a halfway lift. So now widen your stance a little bit here in this halfway lift, and then bend through your knees, come into a deep squat. Reach the arms forward and the hips back. Lift your toes. And then press yourself up to stand. Tadasana. Wide feet, Tadasana. Take your time. Pull your earlobes back. Great. And then bring your right foot over to the right edge of your mat, long side of your mat. And come lift the left leg up. Good. So left leg is lifted, right leg is on the long edge of the mat. And then you're going to drive your hips back again. And now set your left foot so that it's right on the long edge of your mat as well. Back and kind of a short crescent lunge. Okay. Just feel your balance here. And then let's bring toes of the left foot right to the heel of the right foot. Squeeze everything in. Just standing here with both feet on the edge of your mat. You've got your back big toe touching your front heel. And then inhale, sweep the left leg up. And exhale, set it back down, that wide Tadasana stance. Take your weight into your left foot. Make sure your left foot's lined up with the long edge of your mat. Bring your right knee up in the air. And then bending through your front standing leg, take your hips back and put your right foot, the best as you can, right behind the left foot. So they're both on the outer edge of your mat. So you're in a kind of a short crescent lunge here. Feel your balance here. Pull the hip points in towards one another. Upstroke the navel. Good. And then once you feel nice and balanced, slide your back foot up so that your back big toe is touching your front heel. Squeeze everything in. Just hanging out here. The hips are pulling in, squeezing in. Inner legs squeezing towards one another. Take your earlobes back in space. Good. Weights in the left foot. Now inhale the right leg up. Set it over to the other side of the mat. Wide stance Tadasana. Take your earlobes back. So you kind of make a double chin. Great. From here, we're going to spin and open to face the long edge of the mat. Bending through your knees, turn your feet out. So we're coming to goddess pose. Dropping the tail down, the hips down. Inhale, just open up into a nice star shape, then hands together. And then exhale, drop into your goddess pose. Bring hands to heart center. Inhale, sweep open. And exhale. Drop down maybe a little deeper. Inhale. Bring everything together. And exhale. Lower down. Do that a couple more times. And the next time you set down, just pick the left heel up. Now, if you'd rather have your hands on your hips, that's fine. That kind of can help you keep your pelvis level too. Then drop that heel and pick the right heel up. So a little balance here. Now pick both heels up. So even though the legs are separated, draw everything in towards midline. Take eagle arms. Press into your heels. Inhale, sweep up. And exhale. Now take your feet so that they're a little bit more lined up with the short edge of your mat and come into a fold. If you've got a block handy, that would work to have your block right underneath your chest, your sacrum, your sternum. Great. So you could be using a block, you could have your hands on the floor, but bring your left hand to the floor or the block. Draw your left inner thigh towards your right inner thigh and spin open. Firm feet, firm legs. Release. Come back to center, right hand to the block. Draw your right inner thigh towards your left inner thigh and twist open in the opposite direction. And back to center. And then bending through your knees, hands to your hips, press yourself up to stand. Great. We'll try one other version of Vrksasana. If you have a block, you place the block on the floor. And we're going to step onto the block. Either foot will do. Step onto the block. I just need to orient myself here. Step onto the block. Really feel that standing leg hip pull in. Draw the hip points towards one another. Hover the opposite foot. Take that foot out to the side a bit. Then to the front. Now you could be using wall space as well. And take it back to the side and take it behind you. cross it behind your back, your standing leg. Back to center, and then find more of a traditional Vrksasana with foot against calf or thigh. Reach the arms up. And we're going to take a little side bend towards the bent leg. Press firmly with that standing leg. Back up to center. Release the hands. Take your time. Release the free leg. Walk around your space. Move your hips around in a circle. And we'll try the easy side. Easy because we already know what we're doing. All right, so step the opposite foot to the block. Pull that hip in. Really pull everything towards midline. And then hover opposite foot. Bring your foot out in front. To the side. Behind you. Cross behind the standing leg. Back to center. More of a traditional Vrksasana. Hands to hips. Feel for evenness in your pelvis as you draw your hip points towards one another. Upstroke the navel. You could stay here forever, right? Release the foot. Step down. Shake it out. Walk in your space. And come back to the top of your mat. Tadasana. Back of the head, the back of the sacrum. So bring the earlobes back like you're giving yourself a double chin. Palms face forward. Inhale, lift the arms up. And exhale, bend through your knees and come into Utkatasana. Bring your right ankle on your left knee. Bring your hands to your heart center and just dip as low as possible. Sit as low as possible. Press your standing foot into the floor. Gather the hips towards one another. And then stand up. Release the right leg back and step into crescent lunge. Lift the back thigh. Draw hip points towards one another. Navel up and in. Inhale, reach fingertips. Exhale, hands down around the front foot. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Bend the right knee. Stack the right knee over the left knee. Press firmly into both hands. And your next exhale, bring your knee in towards your nose. And then straighten your right leg out towards the left as much as possible, hovering that foot. And if it has to touch the ground, that's okay. Bring your right knee back towards your nose. Inhale your right leg long. Exhale down to the floor. Walk your hands up to, or your feet up to your hands. Halfway lift. Deep bend in the knees as you bring your arms up beside your ears. Utkatasana. And then weight into the left foot now. Cross your right leg on top of your left leg. Hands could be at heart center. Sit as deeply as possible. I think I'm doing the same leg, so make sure you're doing the opposite leg. I think I hit the same leg there. Deep sit here. Really feel the outer hips working. And then you're going to unfold the arms and step the foot back. Crescent lunge on the other side. Inhale, fingertips up. Exhale, hands down around the front foot, step back, downward dog. Inhale, left leg out, bend to the left knee, stack left hip over right hip. Press firmly into the right arm, right hand. Exhale, bring your left knee towards your nose, and then extend the left leg over, hovering the leg right off the floor as much as possible. If it's touching, that's fine. Bring your left knee back to your nose. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to the high plank. Exhale, knees to the floor. Lower your chest between your hands. Come to the floor. Forehead to the mat. Reach back for your ankles. Take your ankles with your hands. Press your legs up off the floor. Press your knees, your hands into your, pull your hands against your ankles and press your ankles into your hands and lift your head and shoulders. Bow. Balancing kind of here in your tummy. Lift a little higher. And release. Let everything come to the floor. Turn your head in one direction. Soften through your hips. Just give a little shake. And come back to center. Turn your head in the opposite direction. Okay, we're going to come forehead back to the floor. We're going to take one more for those who want it. You can skip it if you don't want it. Press your pubic bone into the floor. Bend your knees. Reach back with your hands. You might have to grab your pants. If you can grab your ankles, grab your ankles. Lift your thighs off the floor. Press your ankles into your hands. Pull back with your hands. Lift your head and shoulders for bow. Now try rocking to one side. See if you can roll all the way over to one side and balance on that side. Come back to center. Go to the other side and balance on that side. Back to center. And then release everything to the floor. Now take your navel and upstroke it. Draw your tailbone down towards your heels. You can take a little pillow with your hands and you can have your Shavasana right here like this on your belly. If you'd rather, just turn onto your back. Taking more of a traditional Shavasana and anything else you need before you do your final resting. So if you want, we did some twisting, but if you want another twist or two, if you want a happy baby or just windshield wipers, figure four, let's just begin to settle back into relative stillness. If you're on your back, press the back of your head into the floor slightly. Think about the back of your head lining up with the back of your sacrum. And then just lift your upper body and tuck your shoulder blades under. So you want to broaden through your collarbones. And options to bend the knees and let your knees just rest against one another if you have any lower back issues. And as you scan through your body here, see if there's any holding anywhere, any place that you could soften just a little bit. I find the hands are very accessible for me to soften my hands. I just let them really relax, feeling my hands from the inside out. Soften the muscles on your face. Particularly between your brow. Can you soften the space between your eyes there, between the brow? And then take your hands and just place your hands above your heart. End with a little mantra here. May I learn to look at myself with the eyes of understanding and love. May everyone learn to look at themselves with the eyes of understanding and love. May I be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in myself. May everyone be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in themselves. Stay as long as you like in your Shavasana. Could move to one side body, resting there for a few breaths, or join me in your seat. May the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within. Namaste.